Which of the following answers listed below refer to common applications that make use of TCP, which is Transport Control Protocol? And it's basically highway of how data can go across the internet. That's TCP. So which of the answers is this? Let's go over the ones that use UDP, User Datagram Protocol. Now, know that UDP transports data really fast, way faster than TCP, and that's because TCP is reliable. TCP has a three-way handshake. Basically, you as a client and then the server, client is like, hey, server, I'm here. The server's like, okay, I'm ready to receive you. And this guy over here is like, all right, cool, I hear you. And then they can start transmitting data. So that takes a minute, right? And UDP doesn't have that, which makes it less reliable. It doesn't establish a connection beforehand. So there could be dropped packets, where TCP makes sure there's no drop packets. But again, it's a lot faster. And this speed is needed for online gaming, because you're gaming with other people that could be in China when you're in the US, right? You need things to be instantaneous. So for that, you would use UDP. And while some games might use TCP for certain aspects, the real-time nature of online games, they're usually going to use UDP, User Datagram Protocol. And then video conferencing. Well, that needs to be instant too, right? It uses both TCP and UDP, but even then, it runs over UDP for audio and video to minimize any latency, right? You don't want to be talking and then your words are coming out a second afterwards. Signal protocols might use TCP, but the actual video and audio definitely use UDP. And then we have voice over internet, or VoIP, or voice over IP. And that's basically like, it's kind of like video conferencing. It's when you're talking on the phone, right? That's why we have Wi-Fi calling on the phones. You can use Wi-Fi to transmit the analog data, right? Analog data to digital data, and it sends it. That needs to be fast. There can't be too much latency. So that's why we would use UDP. And then we have live streaming. Well, hey, live streaming is basically like a video conference, but it's to everyone. So kind of like video conferencing, it uses RTP, which is real-time transport protocol. And that runs over UDP. And it basically allows you to stream and conference. Its complex parts are going to use TCP, but for the most part, it uses UDP, User Datagram Protocol. So TCP, Transport Control Protocol. It's going to be for file transferring. When you transfer a file, you want to make sure it gets there properly. You don't want any parts of your file to be missing when it gets to the destination. Email communication. Whether you're retrieving or sending things, you want to make sure your messages are sent or retrieved properly. Then you have web browsing. When you click on a page, you might notice it takes a second to load. That's just because HTTP needs to communicate with the server to give you the information. And it needs to do that securely, and it needs to make sure everything's there when it's requested. So that uses TCP as well. So file transfer, email communication, web browsing, all make use of TCP, while online gaming, video conferencing, voice over IP or VoIP, and live streaming make use of UDP.